So instead of forceps, today I'm armed with pipe cleaners as we take you through the foramina that can be found within the base of the skull. So I'm going to start with the optic canal, and you can see that the optic canal is just situated here, just medial to the lesser wing of the sphenoid and the anterior clinoid process. So you can see there, just the optic canal. And so I'm just going to thread a pipe cleaner through here. And we've mentioned before that this is going to be almost like a neural gateway to the orbit. And I'm just going to thread one on here. Cool. So what you can see is that through the optic canal, the nerve, in this case the optic nerve, will end up coming into the orbit. Right. There's another gateway into the orbit, and that's called the superior orbital fissure, and I'll just use a slightly different colour for this. And the superior orbital fissure is found just through there. So it's a little more difficult to see from this perspective, and it provides the gateway for a lot of cranial nerves to enter into the orbit, and a number of blood vessels too. So I'm just going to put that through there. So if you can see straight into the orbit, and I hope you can there, you'll see that the superior orbital fissure is more of a fissure and less of a canal, and you'll also see that it's lateral to the optic canal. So it contains many more structures because it's larger, whereas the optic canal only contains the optic nerve. So that's the superior orbital fissure. Now, as we go down, what we'll see a foramen called the foramen rotundum, and this is a foramen within the sphenoid. And so what you'll see here is, here's foramen rotundum, where the pipe cleaner has been placed down into, and you can see where it's coming out. It's coming out just adjacent, if you can see that there. It's coming out just adjacent to the maxilla. So a nerve that would want to head down to the maxilla bone's just here, would go through the foramen rotundum. Now, if we move, sorry, I'll just re-establish my skulls here. Righto. If we wanted to get down to the mandible, then we would use a little gateway called the foramen ovale. And so I'm just going to stick a pipe cleaner through the foramen ovale there and through the foramen ovale here. And you can see that the pipe cleaner is going to want to go straight down onto the medial surface of the mandible that you can see here. So that's through the foramen ovale. Now, as we go further inferior, I don't have a red one to actually show this, but I'll use yellow. We have the foramen spinosum that you can see here. So let's just get that one out of the way. They are the foramen spinosum. Very important little foramina, these ones, because they transmit the middle meningeal artery, which is an indirect branch from the external carotid artery. And so you can see here, this is a perfect location for a branch of the external carotid artery to enter into an intracranial position. So that's the foramen spinosum. Right, let's just get organised here. Good, foramen spinosum. Now what you can see here is the foramen lacerum. But we know that in life this doesn't actually exist because it's covered with a plate of cartilage. And so the foramen lacerum isn't a true foramen in life. But it is important because the carotid artery passes over the foramen lacerum. It doesn't traverse it, so it doesn't go through it, but it passes over it. So there's our carotid artery, as it's coming over the foramen lacerum. Let's see how it actually gets there. And it goes through this. So on the inferior side of the skull, there's the carotid canal that you can see here. And the carotid artery, the internal carotid artery, I should say, be more specific, internal carotid artery will enter through there. And then it will take a 90-degree course over the foramen lacerum. And I hope you can see that there. 90-degree course over the foramen lacerum. Excellent. What else can we see? We can see the internal acoustic meatus, which is just there, and we can't actually penetrate through the internal acoustic meatus, but that will be leading toward the inner ear. So any nerves that want to get to the inner ear can go through there. Now if we keep going posteriorly, what we'll see is the jugular foramen, and that's here, and that will carry actually the major venous drainage side of the skull. So any venous drainage that wants to go between the skull here and the neck, as you can see here, the skull and the neck will need to go through there. Likewise, any nerves that want to go through between the skull and the neck will need to go through here, the jugular foramen. So there's the jugular foramen. Now the last couple of foramina that I want to show you are the hypoglossal canal and the foramen magnum. So where you can see the orange pipe cleaners go through here, through the lateral part of the occipital bone, that's the hypoglossal canal. And that's used by one of the cranial nerves that is going to provide motor information to the tongue, And you can see where the hypoglossal canal is going to exit from where the pipe cleaners are situated just there. So you can see that these nerves here, the hypoglossal nerves, represented by the pipe cleaners, are going to be in a perfect position to innervate the muscles of the tongue there, because it's in the hypoglossal region, so it's just inferior to the tongue. So you can see that there. And the last and biggest foramen that we have is the foramen magnum. And the foramen magnum here, the large foramen, is going to be the point where a brainstem which is sitting here on the clivus, is going to exit through the foramen magnum to become the spinal cord.